The Vivo Z1 Pro with a Snapdragon 712 is priced at 15,000 rupees. The Realme X with the Snapdragon 710 is priced higher at 17,000 rupees. Is it that simple? Is the Z1 Pro better value? Or is there more to this comparison than just the chips inside? That's exactly what we're gonna try to figure out in today's video. Hey guys, Ash here from C4E Tech, and if you do end up liking what you see, please don't forget to turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon. Since I brought up the specs, let's start right there. I already told you about the chips inside, 712 on the Z1 Pro, 710 on the Realme X. Now that gives the Z1 Pro an advantage of about 10% with regards to performance. Base variants of both phones come with 4 gigs of RAM, but the Z1 Pro offers 64 gigs of storage while the Realme X doubles that to 128. That said, it's only the Z1 Pro that has microSD expansion options in the form of a triple card slot nonetheless. The Realme X doesn't have microSD support at all. So with regards to specs, yep, the Z1 Pro does better here. From specs, let's talk user experience. Both these phones have their own custom interfaces. The Z1 Pro comes with Fun Touch OS, whereas the Realme X sports Color OS, both built on top of Android 9 Pie. The performance here is equally snappy. Personally, I'd prefer Color OS over Fun Touch because it's close to how things are generally done with Android. You know, app draw, quick toggles on the notification bar and so on. Whereas Fun Touch OS, all the apps, they go onto the home screen and the quick toggles are located in the control center. I mean, it's good. This is just my personal preference. Both are pretty stable and offer a solid user experience. It's just that Fun Touch OS takes a little bit of getting used to for me. But like I said, it's personal experience, personal preference rather. So I'm gonna call this one a tie and leave it to your choice. So what do you guys prefer, Color OS or Fun Touch OS? Here's a poll, let me know. Now next, let's move on to battery, and this is another round that the Z1 Pro wins comprehensively. It sports a 5000 mAh battery compared to the Realme X's 3765 mAh, and the battery lasts about roughly 30% longer. The Realme X can get you through most days on a single charge. It's got good battery life, but it's just that the Vivo Z1 Pro will last a lot longer. It's got better than good battery life. And by the way, as far as charging goes, the Z1 Pro comes with an 18-watt charger in the box, while the Realme X has a 20-watt Quk charger. Despite that minor difference, I'm gonna take into account the fact that the Z1 Pro has a much higher capacity battery and give this round to the Vivo Z1 Pro. That said, bigger batteries lead to larger phones. So when it comes to build and design, what was a pro for the Z1 Pro kind of becomes a con now, because the Realme X is 10 grams lighter. It also has overall a smaller footprint while housing a similar size display. It's shorter, narrower, and even slimmer than the Z1 Pro. The Z1 Pro's biggest disappointment though, that would have to be the fact that it still comes with micro USB in 2019 while the Realme X offers Type-C. So as far as looks go, both phones have plastic backs that look alluring, but which one looks better, that's gonna boil down to personal preference again. But over here, when it comes to build and design, given the smaller form factor and USB Type-C, I'm gonna go with the Realme X. Now the Realme X continues with another win, this time with display. Both phones have similar 6.5-inch panels. The resolution and aspect ratio are also identical, Full HD Plus and 19.5:9. Now the Z1 Pro uses an excellent IPS LCD panel with a small cutout to the top left for a selfie camera in the display. Now this is a rich panel that is great for media consumption. It offers good colors and excellent viewing angles. But the Realme X one-ups the Z1 Pro by going with an all-screen AMOLED panel. This is covered by Corning's Gorilla Glass for protection, while Vivo does not mention what they've used for protection. Also, AMOLED panels are a lot more punchy and vibrant, and there is no notch or cutout interrupting the display. So, Realme has used a motorized pop-up selfie camera here. The display experience is just better on it. So as far as display goes, it's the Realme X. Now before we jump to cameras, let's take a look at the miscellaneous features. Given the AMOLED panel, the Realme X sports an in-display fingerprint scanner. The Z1 Pro, on the other hand, uses a physical fingerprint scanner to the back. So the Realme X has an advantage of being in line with 2019 trends. The Z1 Pro, on the other hand, has the faster scanner and faster face unlock since the camera doesn't have to pop up. But these speed gains, they are not really noticeable unless you're really comparing and testing them side by side. For day-to-day purposes, the Realme X is still fast. Now, as far as audio goes, there's not a lot different here, whether it's speaker output or audio quality via the 3.5mm headphone jack. These phones are more or less similar with regards to the performance there. Now, let's talk cameras. The Realme X has 2 cameras to the back, while the Z1 Pro has 3. The primary on the Realme X is the 48-megapixel Sony IMX586 with an f1.7 lens, while the Z1 Pro has a 16-megapixel sensor with a f1.78 as primary. Under good light, both cameras perform well. They retain similar amounts of detail. The dynamic range is pretty close too. The Realme X has a very slight edge here, but for all intents and purposes, let's say they are on par. Where the Realme X pulls ahead is with regards to colors. Colors on the images shot by the Realme X, they are more natural, and under low light, that's where the Realme X really shines. Both Realme and Vivo here offer dedicated night modes, but images shot with the X, they were constantly cleaner and brighter. And here's where Realme's superior optics really come into their own. As for portraits, the Realme X continues to do well. Edge reduction is quite similar despite the secondary depth sensor being higher resolution on the Realme. The Z1 Pro does offer a third sensor, an 8-megapixel f2.2 ultra-wide, and it does a fair job in capturing those nice wide-angle shots. The Realme X does not have an answer to this. As for video, both phones can shoot 4K at up to 30 FPS, and while they are pretty close on detail levels, the Realme X has an advantage with dynamic range. It just retains more detail in the shadows. And as far as selfies go, the Realme X sports a 16-megapixel f2 IMX471 to be precise, while Vivo's gone with a 32-megapixel f2. Both cameras capture similar levels of detail, but Vivo here edges ahead given it has a wider field of view. Overall, while the Z1 Pro seems to do pretty well and it's got more cameras, the Realme X seems to have better hardware. Now finally, let's talk price. Now this is a win for the Z1 Pro. It starts at 15K compared to 17,000 rupees for the Realme X. It is worth mentioning that the Realme X offers 128 gigs of storage at this price, while the Z1 Pro offers only 64. But it does have that dedicated microSD card slot, so 64 should be fine for most people. And if you want 128, then Vivo does offer it at 18,000 rupees, which is 1,000 rupees higher than the Realme X. But for 18,000, Vivo also throws in 2 extra gigs of RAM, so it's 6 128 compared to 4 128. So anyway, what do we have here? 2 excellent mid-rangers from Vivo and Realme, both with their own sets of pros and cons. I feel what you choose here, well, it should depend on which feature set you prefer more. Now, if you're someone who prioritizes performance, battery life, likes ultra-wide pictures, and wants the best selfies, then the Vivo Z1 Pro might fit your bill. But if you want a phone that looks great and more importantly has a display that's all screen, it's an Amoled, if you want that in-display fingerprint scanner and the best primary camera performance for both video and low light, then the Realme X should definitely work for you. The extra 2,000 rupees would be worth it. So there you go, these are the pros and cons of these two phones. This is how they stack up against each other. So which of these would you prefer and why? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, we get to the end of this comparison video. Hope you guys liked it. If you did, go ahead, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon. If you didn't, you can also vote it down, whatever. So thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, my name's Ash. You've been watching C4 Retech, and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.